spot. Been photographing all around and travelling about looking for a nice, this one seems quite nice. So we've got a standard palette of oil paints. Well, there we are. We're going to try a nice lively oil from here, see what we can do. It's important to me to try and catch this light while it's going. Lovely light across the... So I'll put a bit of blue coming into there. And a bit more green. I want to really make these colours sing a bit across here. Certainly a lovely shade of blue going on in the background. Right over there. I must get. To really push these colours and enjoy them today. There we go. Now I want more green. Really push my colours. There's some beautiful colours going on over there which I want to get mixed in with this sludge. Look at the amount of colour I've got there already, which is rather lovely. Now I really want to go into that sort of turquoise green, so let's push for that now. There. So it comes across very atmospherically. Right, having got that turquoise colour, coming up to a bit more blue into it. See, I'm still dealing with the cool blues at the moment. Really want to push these colours and enjoy. And then up into here with the sky comes. There's a beautiful sky blue going on up there, which is going to be a bit more cobalt. Let's get some white and some cobalt. Find that much stronger, more azure blue. Let's go right up into there and through here, down there. And then stronger still, perhaps with a little more ultramarine coming in now, up here. Wonderful colours. Just whack it in and enjoy it. I have to bring my tree through here shortly, so I'm going to cover that completely. Stay still though. There we go. Now as that comes up it gets slightly warmer still, so I'm going to add a little bit of purple up into here. Really get a bit more warmth happening with the sky up here. There we go. Look at those lovely colours we've got now. Now we'll look at the cloud effects happening there. We want to gently come in there with our greys. I'm going to cover that white up first. With this mid-blue grey. A little tiny touch of yellow ochre into that, a little tiny touch of brown, just to grey it down a bit. There we go. Because we've got these darker shadows coming up in the clouds up here, underneath these. now, a bit more white into that. And a touch of a cooler yellow, some lemon. And we'll try and get some of these really light effects of the clouds coming underneath. Nice creamy chunks of oil paint. Into the sky there, into those clouds, nice fluffy bits down there. Plaster it on and just enjoy. You're using oil paint and it's such a lovely thing to use, so let's enjoy it. This little bits of cloud and something scudding through. There's a bit more orange going on in a moment. So I'm going to add a little bit of cadmium orange into that now. There's a slight feeling of reflected sunlight going on over these clouds in the background, right back here. Warmth coming back there, and I'm going to go down. I'm going to put in some of these dark trees first. I think we need to get that sorted out. To really get some enjoyment out of this painting. Really push these colours. Really look for some colours. Get these colours in here. Just indicating some of these purples before we get the smaller brushes out. Just feel some of those background colours coming on here, some tree and stuff. I want to be almost putting it on like an abstract. Make the colour as near as you can, comparative one to another. Put it there. In the right place and the right shape, and hopefully your painting will just appear. Now that lovely orange, which we're not going to get so easily because the light has so changed. We had a very nice bit of sunlight on these foregrounds earlier on. And across there, very light purple. The thing is not to stop, got to keep going, because they do matter. It's not that I'm painting in great detail, it's just that I'm giving the illusion, the feeling of these forms. And if you're going to try and paint a thin branch, you need a thinner brush. Nice warm, very warm beech tree leaves, and that's what's happening back in there amongst that lot. So I'm having to play a little bit with the colours that exist now in these darker tones, which is not ideal because they aren't really relevant to having these really bright sunlit pieces behind. That's the trouble. Fast and colourful piece. I then continued back in the studio at home and reworked this painting with more oils over the top to become much brighter and more vibrant. That day the sky had clouded over and all the sunlight totally lost, so I needed to bring that back again. Good girl. Sit down, sit down. Stay there, sit. Good girls. There's good dogs. Okay, we're going to do this rather nice composite of geese flying over the marshes here and my two Labradors, the young pup and the black, just catching the sunlight. Sunrise with some snow, and we're going to do this in acrylic on a 2430 canvas. And my little sandwich box of acrylics here. Make my own stay wet palette. All we do is buy a sandwich box with a lid, put in a layer of kitchen paper and a piece of greaseproof over the top, wet that, and the acrylics will stay wet for weeks. Then just open it up when we want to use it. I keep it in a circular palette next to it just to mix in. You can see my colours here. Very basic sets of all I need. And what I'm going to do first in this case is just paint in these dark areas where the birds are, just so I know where they are. Not not that neatly, just basically. And once I've done that, then I've established those positions. I've already drawn out just the basic positions of the composition, and I'll work then from my medium tones out to lights and darks. So we've got the geese in, and I should paint around them, which is not something I normally do, but in this case, just so I know where they are, and also I want to establish where the Labradors are here. Although I'm going to paint a lot of other dark colours in there later, I just want to know my basic points of composition, I guess. And the same with the lab over here. We just get her in where she is at the moment. And then it's just a matter of putting all the right colours in. While I've got this dark on my brush, I'll just put a dark horizon across here. Establish some of these colours straight away. So I'm using a mixture of Prussian blue and black here. And there we go. We're ready to start painting the sky. Now for this sky, I want to paint the blues in here and gradually work those greys over. And grey, the simplest way to make it has always been a blue and a brown. Here we're going to have very much similar, but I might add a little bit of purple to it, and we've got some warms coming in as well. So we're starting with a fairly cool blue down here and working our way up to warmer. There's quite a lot of turquoise going on around there too. I'm going to use a quite large half-inch filbert again. And I'm going to mix into my white. In other words, I want a light colour, so I'm going to mix my light colour into that. And to start off with, I want a very yellowy blue, very, very light. So a little bit of lemon yellow. Don't want it too green. It is very light. Lemon yellow and a little bit of cerulean blue up here, and let's start with that, working back through these clouds here. It always seems very dark when I put it on at first like this because the canvas is white, and with a white canvas like this you tend to get the feeling that the colour is too dark against it, but in fact once we establish all of these colours it won't be. I'm going to make a variation of these colours anyway as it goes on. I'll tidy these geese up afterwards. Don't mind if I do cut into them slightly at the moment because it's easy enough to go the dark over the light again later. All I want to do at the moment is remove any halo and any white. Just remember where they are, that's all. As I say, it's all very light at the moment. Right down into here. Beautiful blue colours we're going to gradually blend through and reflecting with the sky by working over and over again. To paint the blue right through first of all, and then come back afterwards and start adding all the pinks on top. This in some ways is a little bit easier with the oils because they blend for longer, whereas the acrylics of course will dry very quickly, and you've had that, no you can't do it. Quite lovely green tints going on behind these clouds up here that I want to establish, which the greys are going to work over. You don't worry if you go over your geese a bit because we're going to come back and tidy those up anyway. All we want to do is just know where they are. Right, now I've got the underpainting of those blues. I can start to be a little bit more specific about the colours, and where they are a fraction warmer I can start to do that. Because there is a bit warmer going on now. And by changing my brush strokes into different directions as well, I can start to feel my way around these clouds. So even though I'm going to put yellows and oranges and so on here later, I just want to get rid of the white at the moment. Right, now let's start to look at the greys. I'm going to take some ultramarine and a little touch of burnt sienna. Make it a lovely warmish grey that comes in with that there, look. Coming up behind the geese, and just want to tickle it, I want to feather it in here. And I can make it cooler or warmer by adding more of the cool blue, the ultramarine, or the warmer burnt sienna, or even the burnt umber as I was using just now. I'm going to do that in a moment. I'm just feathering and finding my way onto the surface at the moment, just gently finding my way behind the geese. It's up here as well, gently coming in. And we're just letting some of that blue glow through as the cloud gets mistier at the edges. This lovely effect of light and atmosphere. It seems quite strong at the moment, but when I put stronger on shortly, it won't seem as heavy. You see, I'm painting over the birds a bit now. Doesn't matter because I'm going to bring it back later. Just subtly and softly bringing those wisps of cloud in here. By subtle changes backwards and forwards between these warms and cools. We're ready to start on some of the pinks and yellows. I don't want it too garish. I think little rose would be fine. It might just be taken down a little bit with some yellow ochre. Don't want it too strong. So a little touch of rose or magenta would do. And a wee touch of either the yellow ochre. I'm going to use chrome yellow at first, maybe a little bit strong, we'll just see. And just subtly come in here, subtly as I dare. Because the white canvas is still there, it still won't look right until I lose all of that. One colour works against another. I'm just scumbling and brushing in this colour at the moment. I'm not using very warm colours yet, we're just using some magenta and a little bit of rose just to find these pinks. Don't want them too flash pink. I make a move back over them with a bit of blue yet, just establishing the warmth of them glowing amongst these clouds. A little bit of lemon yellow on the rose. And then back to the rose again into that. Make it a bit stronger in the pink. Come along here at the bottom. And that's one of the beauties of an opaque paint. I can come back in with lighter colours over the top of the darks, unlike watercolour where you've really got to keep light from the very start. You get the feeling of these mare's tails, these horse tails in the sky. The lighter areas reflecting within here. We want them much stronger, more orangey pinks, so we're going to have to go a little bit more now towards my cadmium reds, I think. Let's see what happens when I start to put a little bit of the warmer orangey reds in, especially down here. See the difference that'll make, because that'll make the cooler reds seem cooler. Try and get these reflected lights, feeling of these warms and cool colours shining up into here. And we'll go to stronger still, going outwards towards the cadmium orange more, so we'll add a little bit of cadmium red to it. Softly. A bit of lemon yellow to cool it down. Got some muck in it there, unfortunately. Now back to the rose again. As we come across here with a slightly warmer, beautiful colours we can get to play with them. Start playing like Turner did with light. But it's this subtlety of playing between cool and warm colours. Every colour has a cool and a warm to it. Every single colour. So a yellow can be cool, a yellow can be warm. Lemon yellow is cool and yellow ochre is very warm. I've got to play with these. I'm playing with a very cool warm now, which is more the rose, just to bring out these other warmer reds a bit more. Not too much, so I'll just take it back a bit. Right, now I want to go back with some of the lighter blues again. Turquoisey greens. Trying to make those up again. We'll just feel some of these lights against the cloud a bit more again. So we can play both ways with this. We can put the darks in, but we can come back and play with a bit of the lights that we're shining through the cloud in places. We'll leave that at that for the moment, and we'll carry on with the water downwards tomorrow. I think we need to get a slightly lighter orange and pink into here. This one's not too bad, but I need to get a slightly more golden light pink going. So we'll get a little touch of the cadmium red this morning. Just see, it may be far too light, I think. A little bit of crimson. That gives me an idea of where direction I'm going. I need to be slightly more orangey, so back to the cadmium red. So the idea is to use these little short feathering brush strokes just to bring the pinks and blend things back in together again a bit here. Let the blue just glow through the... Now straight on down to the base here, and we'll paint in some of these lighter colours that we've already had up here. Some of them are slightly changed slightly in that they're going to be either darker or lighter than the colours above. This first one is fairly yellow turquoise that I want to get onto here. It's quite a light, nice colour. The pinks are going to be reflecting into it, so it's lemon yellow and white, and then adding a little bit of the cerulean blue into it. We don't just paint the strokes, we paint across. We bring them downwards as well into this, so we can blend one colour into another. Go right way around into here. Need to lose this white. And we're going to start adding these warmer blues. Put the right colours in the right places and the right shapes, and hopefully the whole thing will start to come together. A bit more burnt umber into it now. Doesn't matter if we work over the wrong textures at the minute. I just want to establish the tones, cools that are going on behind here. And all these little stumbles and scuffles start to appear to be something. Using a mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine now, which is giving me a slightly greenier deep grey. To lay this on and then gently bring it back with a bit of water to blend it in gradually. I'm going to start to add a little bit of purple to it to really get some lovely colours going on back here. Just gently glazing it in at the moment. This will make those cooler colours seem cooler, which is what we're after doing at the moment, is playing one colour against another. A bit of this purple coming up into the clouds again, just to tint it a bit. And by using these different blues now, the ceruleans and the cobalts and the ultramarine and so on, I'm able to play these lovely cools and warms together to get the effects that I want. It's surprising how quickly a picture can come together, as you can see here. Now I need to just get a little bit more of these very light creamy blues up here and get the sparkle of that light shimmering in our eyes as I'm walking up there. Now we just need to work on the dogs a little more. I think we've almost finished on here. Just like this to be a little bit lighter up here, this pink. Just get some white and a little touch of rose, and see if I can't soften that just a little bit more. Don't want an awful lot, just needs lightening just a little, I think. Well, it would seem that we need to work on the dogs just a little bit more, because at the moment you could read them as shark fins on top of the water. Not going to be easy, because it does look like water being shiny on the surface, and the dogs are that particular shape, so I don't want to bring them out too much. We'll just enhance the silhouettes a bit. Then I might want to put a few little bits of grasses and things in the foreground here to make it look a little more like this marsh there. Now, such fine small work, and I really don't want to get too much into detail, although I've already put some in there. That's probably as much as we're going to do. Might just have a little bit more blue. The warmth of the sun just catching some of these little bits of grasses. Just a few marks against the flats to help the feeling of marsh rather than just water surface. Right, well here we go again then. Nice full palette of clean colour, ready to go. Set of brushes. Shan't need very many, that should be enough for me for the small painting. And we're going to work on a pre-prime canvas, just white this time, straight on, a la primer. And I'll start with the face and hair and then work my way down to the hands. So what I'll do this time is zoom in onto the face so you can see more detail being done. And then we'll paint the background and so on very loosely. So we're going to work on the head. I want to establish the colours. It's not a very large painting, but fairly detailed. Again, I want to still really push the colours to get the light and atmosphere. And we're going to have not only just pinks and warm colours in the face, but they're going to be cools, they're going to be greens and blues as well. I think we'll start off with the hair up here. I'm just going to go straight to an obvious colour perhaps, which is yellow ochre, and add a little bit of body colour to that just to give it some depth. Just add a touch of that there to start off with. Now that's far too bright, but I have to have some colours on a white canvas to start me off, just to find my way. Okay, I'm then going to take down some rose and add that to it to warm it up a little. find my first colours as we go along. Having established that, I'm going to come down towards the front of the hair and just start to establish colours there. Going to add to that same colour some ultramarine, which is quite dark. So that means we've got ultramarine and a touch of rose and a wee touch of yellow ochre. We're getting quite a cool with a little touch of warm in it. And that's going to come all the way around there, following the hair at the moment, going across it. And let's just establish where these tones are. A little bit more blue into that. Here. So we're moving between the cools and the warms now. I'm going to go over this later with a fine brush and flick in a few wisps of the hair as well. A little bit of dark comes down here too, right down to the edge. Right down here. Now here it becomes a bit darker again, so I'm going to add a bit more of the blue and a little bit more of the rose, so we're losing the yellow ochre touch now because I want it to be a bit darker there. There we are. I'm not going to use black at all. All the way down here. Cool under her chin. Comes in round the neck. Keep it simple. And that same colour at the moment going on back down around her ear here. Down into that bit of hair that comes all the way down into the chest and gets lighter at the end, which we'll do a bit later on. You see, that's what we can do with oils, remember, we can go backwards and forwards with these opaque paints, unlike watercolour where we have to work from light to dark. With oils we can go either way. We can go dark into the lights, we can take the lights and put dark over them, so we're total choice. I want to be a bit warmer still, so I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna now to that. A little bit of burnt sienna and some ultramarine to give myself a really nice and dark warm, which is going on here. See the difference in that colour? And as I said before, it's playing one against another. It's like the rough next to the smooth. If we do that and play the rough next to the smooth, then it will enhance the rough and make it look rougher, and the smooth will look smoother. So it's playing a game with colour and one thing against another. A bit warmer and lighter there, the yellow ochre. Coming down here. Golden colour. It's cool coming in there in just a moment. So we've managed with 3 colours so far. I'm going to take a little bit of white, add it to that same mixture of yellow ochre, the warm, to go up here. Establish it for the moment. It's nowhere near as bright as I made it this colour up here. It's just to establish those colours, to see where I'm going first. Because we need to see what's correct and what isn't. Just establishing the base colours. Already we've established a few tones. I'm not really pushing the colours as yet. I'm just doing a standard portrait at the moment. And just start to lighten up these areas, which we're going to need to do more on later, but just really establish some of these lighter bits here, which I'm going to do with some lighter blue and things later as well again, just to get the feel of the hair to start with. So quite subtle colouring at the moment between the cools and the warms. Okay, we'll go on from that and we'll start looking at the flesh tones. I'm still going to stay with the yellow ochre for the moment and the white before I make it a bit warmer, just to see what colour we're doing up here. Right, now if I take some of that burnt sienna, I don't want to use strong colours yet, make that very pale as well, and just blend a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt sienna together to give me a slightly warmer light there. Let's see if we see that anywhere else. We're seeing it down here. So again, it's like painting by numbers. We're trying to find the right colours in the right places. As I'm working against a white canvas, it's quite difficult to do at first because it's hard to see. It makes the colours look very dark when they're actually quite light colours that I'm using. So I'm just trying to find subtle mixes at the moment of flesh tones, which are very light colours because she's a little girl with very pale skin. So we're still working just between the yellow ochre, a little touch of rose white, and a touch of burnt sienna where we need it, just to warm things up. Not too much yet, but I'm going to add some other cools in a moment. I'm going to go to a smaller brush as well because this is so fine that you don't need to work quite small now. And the first colour I'm going to do is going to be a little bit of dark in the mouth here. Just to get the inside line of the mouth. And I'm going to come back out again. Don't make the colour too strong, just fine and warm at the moment. Find her lower lip with a little of the rose and a touch of yellow ochre just to lighten that lip up. Right, so that's all we need for there. Now I want to look at the cobalt warmers on here, because now we've got that in, there is a little bit of that colour coming in to the cheek here. And then we need to look at some of these cooler shadows. So I'm going to mix a little bit of cerulean now and some white, which is quite a cool blue, and just add some of that, just tint it in with some of that pink a little, and we'll see what happens when we use that for some of the cooler shadows here. We need to lose this canvas and the drawing marks as well, so this is a good way to be doing it. I'm going to bring that blue right the way through here and down that side of the nose. Now while we're working on the blues, we'll just establish the irises. Keep them subtle. Don't want it to be too blue. We can enhance them later, there's no problem with that. All we're doing at the moment is just establishing the right tones one to another. So we're still only using burnt sienna and a touch of ultramarine on these darks at the moment. And you see how just with a few colours already we can start to really make things have some shape. So I'm going to take now some rose without too much yellow and actually make a very light pink with that, and see if we can just find the subtlety of that eye shape coming round there. Now I'm going to take a little touch of green now. We'll look at where that might be coming on the face. So we're playing between these warms and delicate cools, trying to find the colours on the photograph, the subtleties of them, and you see how it's starting to work now. This can be where the pencil can be a bit of a nuisance as well, because You see where I'm painting now, the pencil is actually coming away and affecting the colour of the paint, which when we're painting very thinly with light colours, it's going to be a bit of a nuisance, but it's nothing we can't sort out by simply painting a bit more heavily. To get that mouth just right, to work on little touches of paint. Right, now let's go back to this blue here that we were playing with earlier and see if we can enhance those slightly now. Again, I'm going to go back to my cobalt blue at the moment and just come in with a little bit of cobalt blue and white here to give a slightly stronger blue. Don't want to overdo it, just bring that blue out a little bit more strongly. Having done that, we need to go back with some darker around it. So I'm back to my ultramarine and burnt sienna again to get the different, slightly warmer, deep blue, almost a black mix, which it isn't black though. Let's see what we can do with that. Go carefully here now, because these eyes are so important to paint correctly. We're almost down to needing a one-head brush for this job. I get her eyelashes just coming down like that there. That mouth, I'm still not quite happy. I still think we need to play a little bit with the edge of that mouth there. It may be that it needs just to come down into there a fraction more. That's better. It's only very subtle little things you see, but they do make a difference. And there's a slight grey for the eyebrow, which we haven't touched yet. So with that mixture for the eye earlier of the ultramarine and burnt sienna, I'm not going to make this too strong. I'm just putting it in. I'll come back and soften that in a moment. I just want to make sure it's in the right place. And the same thing going on over there, of course. With the drawing all the time, we can readjust it and readjust it until it's... So take a little bit of yellow now, a little bit of chrome, and just add that to the yellow, which will be, because the yellow ochre is going to be warmer than the chrome yellow. So this should hopefully give me make the flesh tone slightly warmer and give us this slightly soft-edged feel to the hair. That it's not harsh, it's quite fine. And working in the reverse, we'll come back, take our ultramarine again and burnt sienna, because I can go darker than that, but just at the moment I just want to work with these two colours and save my darkest and lightest to the very end when I might need them. So I've been saving this, you see, and I can go darker yet if I want to, so you know, I've still got plenty of space to manoeuvre. That'll make more sense when I put the background in. We're almost done on the face, so I've just got to go back and touch up that bit of ear I painted out. It'll be done afterwards. Right, let's move on down to do the arms now. I'm back to a slightly larger brush again. And there we are, we're into the painting. Now let's go for this red dress. Red-orange dress. I'm going to be very crude at first, but I'm just going to take neat cadmium red, slap it straight on and see what happens. Actually it looks quite cool then, but I don't mean cool as in wow man cool, I mean the red itself, is cadmium, actually looks quite cool, so I think I might be needing a bit of orange in this as well to really warm this up. Right behind her hair here. We're going to have to link this in more later. All I want to do now is get rid of the white canvas and establish colours. I don't normally finish a painting in one part so early on. Now we've painted the hands in the same way as the face. using the same colours. The rose with the ultramarine, with the rose with the cerulean blue for the shadows, and the yellow ochre and rose and white, and then some cerulean around for the shadows here. Very quickly painted in with the highlights, not in detail yet. Now I'm just slapping on some cadmium red just to get rid of this white canvas. I do need to establish these colours back here. And I know there's a stem of a plant coming along there, so I'll just leave that little bit of white there to remind myself of what's going to go there later. Just the little details to put in afterwards. Don't want to be too detailed. We've done the portrait basically, so now it's to start making this into a painting and not a photograph. We are using the photograph and keeping the likeness, but we're not bound by it to try and make a copy of a photograph. We're going a stage further. I'm talking about a little cadmium orange in places just to lighten things up, brighten things up against this red before we put the spots in. And you see how that orange again softens in with the face, it links it in. Right, let's slap in this colour all over here, get our background in, goes right down to the hair there, there. We'll tidy that up a little bit later on, don't need to right now. I'm stronger with the blues in a moment there. I just want to really get some lovely colours going and these shapes. I'm now using the blues as cools to really give some depth against this dress. The dashes, just following the darks around the shapes of leaves. Not being exact at all. I know whereabouts I want things to be and I'm just giving an impression of those now. I'd get a cleaner edge if I had done this in acrylic. But now I'm trying to, in pastel, I'm trying to paste this stuff on top without losing too much of the colour, which isn't easy with all this dark colour around it. Plaster this stuff on, build up these flowers almost as they're growing there. And that red dress will make sense, you see, with these colours in now. It won't seem quite so bright because it's a part of it. Going on back there to a lot lighter. And again, hopefully they will give more depth to my painting of the face because they'll be lighter. If you can sing a bit, this ultramarine. But I don't want to do too much more because I do want to keep it still, as I say, fairly loose. I don't want to tighten up into an illustration here. And I think the painting is nice and lively as it is. I just need to put a few little details in maybe of the plants and things, but will it help? This acidic greens might just bring out the pinks a bit more, the flesh I think. And it's small things like this we need to look at the end of a painting like this, just to see what is required. Now then, the dress itself, have a very light pink or light cream, not quite sure which. Let's just try it and see. It is very light, that colour indeed. Just quite what it is. I think I'm going to try pink spots. So let's take some white and a little touch of cream and some of the pink we had and just try it out and see. These polka dots. Yeah, not far out there, I don't think. Got all these little dots to paint across the dress. I should just finish it off. Don't have to put too many in, just enough to give the feeling of the event. Watch out for reflected light still. If I haven't got it, it could still be there. There we go, I think that'll do it for the moment anyway. Tomorrow we'll do another oil, a bigger one. Hopefully even more loosely. We're going to do this painting almost entirely in acrylics again, build up all of the base and then use some of the stronger oils on top at the very end to finish off and do the details and get the strength and vibrance of colour intensity. I'm using a pre-prime canvas again with a dark acrylic primer. Then I'm going to use the set of acrylics I've just shown you, a very limited palette of acrylics to start off with just cobalt blue, cerulean blue, Prussian blue, lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, cadmium red, rose, white, a little emerald, and sometimes a touch of black, although I'm not very keen on using black, but just for an underpainting shouldn't make much difference. All the rest of my greens can be made by mixing those blues and yellows together. In this case I don't really think it matters where you start. I prefer to start with my mid-tones and then work towards the lights and darks normally, which is why in a landscape I usually start with the horizon, which is usually the mid-tones. In this case though, I'm just going to build up one colour next to another to establish the differences between them and to establish their relationships. You'll see I'm working over the whole canvas at once, and doing this high-speed filming you can see the way that I actually work. No one part is finished before another, no one flower is actually completed, but each colour is compared, each shape is placed a bit like a jigsaw. We paint the right colours in the right tones in the right places in the right shapes, and the whole thing just gradually appears. Faces appear, flowers appear. It's a lovely loose and easy way to paint. I could of course produce the whole painting in these acrylics. These are slightly cheaper acrylics, so they're a little bit thinner, and what I do find is happening, which is quite fun in a way, is that the paint is sinking into the primer. So what you'll see here is I put a colour down and gradually it will go slightly darker as it sinks in, but that means you can then layer another layer on top. These paints are slightly transparent and translucent, so you get the idea of one colour glowing through another, which is why I can paint one over another. Here you see me painting on a very light purple, then afterwards I'll paint the red over the top to let that purple glow through and give a luminosity of colour. This can give you some wonderful atmospheric effects, but in this case for this particular painting I do want it to be far more vibrant and much more solid, so I will finish off with the oils at the very end, because this transparent effect is not quite what I want. The transparency can glow through, yes, and that'll be a lovely effect, but I do want the oils to stand heavily on top and stand out almost three-dimensionally. Do remember the golden rule though, you can paint oils over the acrylics, but you can't paint the acrylics over the oils, otherwise they'll peel away. Oil being a very smooth, oily, greasy, shiny surface will not take the acrylics. even though the acrylics are slightly shiny, they will take oils on top. It might take you a little practice to gradually see these underneath colours, to actually look at a photograph and try and see through the surface colour to these shadows showing through, the cool shadows against the warm, the cool shadows and warm shadows against the brighter colours of sunlight shining over the top, so that this underpainting can actually glow through and give you a vibrancy. Obviously I prefer to work from real life and on plein air. You gain so much more, the colours are brighter, it's more vibrant, it's far more difficult, the light's changing, but it's far more exciting. But of course here we are, I'm doing this film now and it's snowing outside, so these photographs were taken much earlier in the year and in the summer. As I'm working in an impressionist technique, this way of one colour under another or next to another is very important. The impressionist technique is to use broken colour, so you use one colour next to another. For instance, red dots next to yellow dots will fool the eye into seeing orange, but more vibrantly. Here, when we're using these purples underneath yellows and the opposites in the colour circle, it also gives us a vibrance. You see when I'm now painting these delphiniums that I'm painting not just one blue, but different blues, cools and warms next to each other to give the vibrance. They aren't just one colour or two blues, they're a whole series of one colour reacting against another. In this case I've painted first the cobalt blue, and then I've gone to a cerulean, and then I start to work in the warmer roses and pinks. Even though I only have one green on my palette, I'm able to make a whole series of different vibrant, warm and cool greens by the use of the different blues and yellows that I have. We have 3 different yellows. Those yellows mixed with the 2 different blues will certainly give us a great variety of greens, as you can see here, and also with a little white as well. We can go between lighter and darks. And this is only the underpainting. As you see here, I'm working very, very loosely, just indicating an impression of these leaves, indicating the light reflecting over them, gradually building up the darker colours and the mid-tones underneath, over which I'll paint the much stronger, brighter oils later. With the oils I do have more greens to use. I have emeralds and chromes and viridians and sap greens, but I also can still make more greens using the yellows that I have and the different blues I have with the oils too, which gives me a great variety. With using burnt umbers, raw umbers, siennas and yellows and blues, we have a tremendous amount of greens that can be made. So in a nutshell, all I'm doing is building up the underpainting, the deeper tones and the mid-tones, and I'm going to paint the reflected sunlit colours shimmering over the surfaces more strongly with the oils at the end. Even now I'm actually painting some of those bright colours coming in, and you see there are different planes of the cooler colours going into the background and the warmer in the foreground. Our warmer colours will always come forward, and our cooler colours should normally always go into the background. When using a pencil and drawing, your mark should always be about the objects you're drawing, especially edges. If you're drawing a very rough broken edge of a piece of metal or old rusty tin, then your mark should be very broken and rusty. If you're drawing the edge of a smooth glass, then we like to see a mark that's smooth and gently breaking to show reflections. Same with brush and painting. Our marks should be about the objects we're painting. If I'm painting long thin leaves, then we want to have long thin marks. Not always the case. There are some breaks to that rule. For instance, if I'm painting an arm or a long flat form, then you might work across it rather than along it all the time. Work across a form rather than following along all of the time. The same with a tree or a branch. Don't work along the things all the time. Do work across them as well. With this technique of using the acrylics translucently, you'll see I'm using the dark ground to actually work the shadows up. I'm painting the lighter highlights up gradually one over another, lighter and lighter and lighter, letting the dark tone underneath help to give me the darker colours. When I come to the oils, I'll paint even more strongly and more heavily and more opaquely. Even the flowers are being built up in the same way. As I come to the chrysanthemums, you'll see me working the mid-tones and darker tones first and gradually adding the sunlight and highlights over the top, as I am here now. We'll get brighter and brighter and brighter to give this vibrance and depth to the leaves and the shadows in the plants behind the flowers. One of the advantages of painting in this technique in this way, apart from the sheer joy of it, because it is a lovely light and loose way to work, and you don't have to think about painting little details all the time exactly as they are, is that you can stop when you're ready. You can decide if that painting is finished in a semi-abstract way, or you want to go on into more and more and more detail. You could actually finish this painting in a photographic realistic way if you wish to, working in this technique, building it up and up and up and getting tighter and tighter. But it is started in a loose way and it's painted in a loose way, so you can get tighter. But if you started tight, you can't go loose. This technique can also be very useful out of doors because it dries very rapidly with the underpainting. You can paint the oils on top very rapidly, so within a space of a few hours you can have the underpainting done and then be painting your oils over the top. Painting as an impressionist, you want to try and catch the moment of the time, the light and the day, so you need to finish the painting very rapidly if you're painting out of doors. Not quite the same process when we're painting indoors like this. Right, it's time to move on now to the oil paints. We'll take our standard palette again and we'll now go over the top of this with some more detail and more vibrancy of colour, and the oil paints are a little more opaque and heavier, so they'll give us better colour intensity. I prefer to use long-handled nylon brushes, and you see in my technique I tend to reach out to the canvas. It's like a sword fence. I reach out and touch the canvas with the tip of the brush, feeling the colours, feeling the surfaces, putting on little bits one next to another in this impressionist method. And I can see that from a distance. If I'm too close up, I can't see what the colours and the broken colour intensities are doing. You've just seen the palette that I use in oils, and those colours will do me for almost every subject you can imagine, whether it's a nighttime scene, morning, evening, soft light, harsh light, doesn't matter, portraits, animals, that series of colours will do you. You can add a few more to it of course, but you'll find that's quite adequate and quite complicated enough. It's quite possible to paint a painting with just a limited palette of just a few colours, say for instance as Rembrandt did with black, burnt sienna, burnt umber, raw umber, yellow ochre and white, and it's possible to make those colours vibrate and sing just using them in a limited way. For instance, the burnt sienna becomes almost like a cadmium red, the yellow ochre will become like a lemon yellow, and black will become blue, and actually to make the black look black we add some burnt umber with it. The raw umber will become the green. Very subtle shades and well worth experimenting with and trying, especially in oils. If you learn to use those colours as well as you can correctly in that way, just think what you can do with a whole palette of colours afterwards. Otherwise you can get confused and things can look a mess. Start with a limited palette and gradually understand them. Mix your greens, understand the greens. Mix as many different yellows with as many different blues as possible. Just experiment and explore so that you learn about colours yourself. Don't just go out and buy the tubes of colour. Explore and experiment. You might have thought that the painting was almost finished at the acrylic stage, but now you see me working further and further into it. You can see how comparative that actually was. It is a comparative piece. We're working cools next to warms, darks next to lights, rough next to smooths, different intensities of colour one next to another, the opposites in the colour circle one next to another. You've seen the palettes that I use, so hopefully you can understand the colours I'm mixing now, especially having seen some of the earlier paintings where I've been mixing similar colours. Flesh tones aren't just pink, they aren't just red and white. They're made up of different colours reflecting from things around them as well. In these faces you'll see me adding cerulean blues and light greens and all sorts of colours in the shadows and in reflected lights. Even orange under the faces and cadmium red under and around the chins and places. Even some Indian red or burnt sienna. It's not just one simple set of colours. We have to very carefully look for those colours and how they're mixed and how they work one to another. So rather than just keep talking, I'm going to put some music over the next section and let you just watch the painting create and appear on the canvas. Well, here we are nearing the end of the painting, and as you can see we've worked right through from our underpainting and mid-tones to the very vibrant colours of pure palette. We've put on the pure lemon yellows, pure cadmium oranges, pure cadmium reds and so on. Now remember, we can't go lighter than white. You could say we can't go darker than black, but I actually never use black. To my knowledge, the Impressionists were the same. They banned black from their palette. Black is a dead inert colour, although, having said that, there were always exceptions to any rule, and I mentioned the Rembrandt palette earlier where we use black as a blue. In my case, to make a dark colour or to make a black, I use the deepest blue we can, which is Prussian, and to that I can add the other warm colours to make it a warm dark or a cool dark. So Prussian blue and burnt sienna, or raw sienna, or even alizarin will give a tremendously dark colour, and you can work to a warm or dark shadow with that. The white's the same. Anything light would be reflecting light, even white paper, so you never actually have pure white. There'll always be daylight, sunlight, artificial light, something shining on that white to give it a tint. Here I've actually used some pure white at the very end on some of the daisies, but normally we'd always use a slight tint into the white. There'll always be a very slight colour showing in some way to give a tint of colour. Well, there we go. Cheers. A little bit of whiskey left at the end to finish off. Enjoyed that painting. Nice and vibrant again, and I hope the figures are lively enough for you. There we are. Oils over acrylic again. Children in the flower bed here. Our next painting is going to be a boat scene. As you can see here, I've used a dark ground and then a light coloured watercolour pencil over the top for my primary drawing. This is a wonderful opportunity to use both brush and painting knife for these wonderful textures of the slabs of rock and then the smooth sky, brightness of the sky and the water. So we're going to use both a painting knife, not palette knife, and brushes to get texture using the slabs of paint and broken colour work again, as we did with the Impressionist painting, for the skies, and play the two against each other. I mentioned we were using painting knives in this, not a palette knife. This is a palette knife, and you see it's a flat blade straight out from the handle. If you try to use that in painting, your fingers are going to be against the canvas all the time. So we have blades with an angle called painting knives where your hand will miss the canvas. That's quite important. So these are for mixing paint on your palette, and these you can do both with, but they are actually for painting on the canvas as well. Now I'm going to use both painting knives and brushes for this. We're going to start up with the sky here and work our way down. I can paint that with a brush, or I can use a painting knife. I think in this case it would be rather effective to use the different textures together by using short brush strokes here in my Impressionist technique, and then come down to softer, more slab-like strokes here, gradually working down to palette knife work as we come down. And I want to paint the boat with a brush anyway. So we'll start off with a sky, and I'm going to mix up using some yellow ochre, a warm cream. I shall drop some lighter yellows into that later. Now I don't need the dark canvas showing through on this bit at all, but I will use the dark canvas later when I'm doing these slabs of rock. You see how much this canvas soaks the paint in. Now, these techniques are exactly the same as I will use when I'm painting out of doors on plein air. So what I'm showing you here, you can use either in the studio, or if you're outside painting, then this technique will suit you very well, as it's a very rapid way of working. This canvas is a cheaper one, there's a lot of tooth to it, so I'm having to work quite a bit of paint in. Right, now I go back to my slightly smaller brushes, take my 1/2 inch and make some cream with the lemon yellow. which of course would be a much lighter, cooler yellow. Even though it's lemon yellow and a cooler yellow, I'll put quite a strong yellow into that so that this yellow ochre glows behind, look. And it gives a rather nice effect. And coming down into here it becomes a lot pinker, so I shall add a little bit yellower as well, so I'm going to be even stronger with those lemon yellows here. I suspect this is where the sunlight is actually coming in from. It's glowing behind this pinker cloud here. So I'll work away up that. Then we'll make a nice rose pink. I'll take that same cream and just add a little bit of a rose to that. And we'll tickle that in down here. And now we come to painting the distant hills. And I'm going to need a slightly purpley blue for that, so I'm going to take some of my ultramarine and just add that at first. That comes up these mountain shapes here, softly behind there. I'm going to blend that down, again in little strokes, as if there's mist coming up through them. So I'm going to go a bit harder in a moment with those edges, all the way along here. And the atmosphere there almost disappearing into the cloud themselves. So now a little bit stronger with that, go a little bit warmer with the blue, touching a tad of ultramarine now, and a wee touch of rose, a little tiny touch of rose, just to give it that little extra warmth. Let's see what we get with that. Yes, that's good. Now we can start. I want to work this bit along here. I think a bit more with the brush. I could do this whole painting with the brush much more quickly, but I really do want to enjoy painting a bit darker that yet. Enjoy painting that colour. It's very similar to what I'm going to need here. So I'll paint that in. Well, I've got the colour on my brush and it's actually mixed up. I'll paint it in. Why not? Ridiculous to have to mix it again later. Down here, it's a lovely cool blue grey. So it's the ultramarine, a little touch of rose, a wee touch of cream into it. It gives this lovely light mauve. Now then, what I was trying to do actually was that piece over there, so I've got to go back to that now. And I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna with my cobalt blue, and then a touch of my rose, just to take that colour back a bit, because it was a little bit too bright for back there. Let's try it now. That's a bit better. A little bit warm now, but I'll have a look at that in a moment. See how that warm's pulled it forward from there. So I think it was a wise choice. That colour is also going to be coming into here. Now we're going to continue working on the boat in a moment. I'll need a smaller brush. Just go back up to here a minute, where I should be just playing with one or two slightly more cools on the edges here. So I've just got to come along here, tickling in that edge with the brush. I'm going to come down to my little 1/4 inch now. It's getting a bit tatty because I had a lot of use of the past few paintings, and there's a very deep line up here which I'm going to do with ultramarine and some burnt sienna at the moment. The ultramarine will give me that lovely deep blue I need in that colour. It's got to come from there around this corner. And it's quite a nice turquoisey blue. And if you've got a turquoisey blue, I'm sure you know what that's going to be. It's going to be my cerulean again, isn't it? Here. Quite strong, going around down that bit there. Painted round under here. Right, now I've got to come down to the fine brush. In just a moment I have. Got a little bit more to do here because this area here is just a little bit thicker than I painted it. The paint's all been scratched away here and damaged, so we'll come back in there and try and get that effect with the brush, just tickling in these marks. So let's get on. Come back to the boat if we need to later. Got other boats to fish to fry and other boats to paint. Now we'll make up the colour for the water. We're going to start using the painting knife now. So I'll take a slab of white and a little touch of yellow ochre, mix it up on the palette. We'll test that out. It's very bright at the moment. Just see how it's going to really make it glow down there. And we can put that on with a knife, any part of the blade you like. I can leave a little bit of dark showing as well at the edge because I want that slight dark edge to the water. I think you can already see how effective this is going to be. Some cerulean. I've got to turn it into a green now because if I mix the two together, because yellow and blue will make green, but in this case the yellow ochre is quite forgiving with cerulean. There we go. So now I'm making my cream with white and lemon yellow again. So I know that that's coming up here. And it's a little bit more orange, so we're going to take a little bit of cadmium into that now. It's a little bit warmer than the rose. I mix that in with my cream I just mixed. Make sure it's well mixed so you're going to get streaking going on. If you want that effect, fine, but if you don't, not wise. And we'll just bring some of that rose down. A little bit stronger warm down into here. A tad more I think actually. I thought it was going to be too strong, but it's actually not. And we can scrape through just a bit. And also along. Emerald green, cobalt and burnt sienna. I'm going to take a smaller knife, a little rounded blade this time. The same colour, we can use it just along the edge here as well. Up here, very dark area coming in that. Okay, now we're coming to the rock areas here, and again we want to work from our darks to our lightest. Which palette knife shall I use for these? Wow, I think I'll probably use my big chunky one again because I can get some nice rock effects there. Let's start with our cooler colours first. So we'll take some of my nice ultramarine again. As it goes back there, it gets a bit cool. Don't want to do too much of this colour. It's not penny a yard, as we say. But you have to use it where it is. Now we start to look at some of the different warmer colours there, because this is quite cool, and here, and we want these to be more purple. So I'm going to take my cerulean again, a fair amount of it, a little touch of white just to lighten it a bit. Mix that up. And then I'm going to take a bit of burnt sienna and add it to that. Now I'm going to need to go much lighter and more purple yet, but I want to get one or two of these darker warmers on. So cerulean and burnt sienna. Colours in there. Two more creams maybe. Just a touch. Because these creams in the sky are now in this mast, which is a lovely deep cobalt on. And so we'll finish our painting there, I think. Here we are at High Bentham in the Dales, so we're going to do a film of Dales and Fenland. Rather nice, different paintings than what we're doing here. A little bit of fishing because it's easy to get to access for me to the river. I like to do a little bit of fly fishing occasionally. To me it's the epitome of the art. So I'm using a little gold ribbed hare's ear here. It's a lovely little stream this, a little tributary that goes into the River Loon. So we're going to do another film for you. This time a whole series of different landscape paintings, rivers, all different sorts of scenes out in the countryside. Good dog. He's a good girl. He's a good dogs. Good dog. That's a big dog, that one. I've done the morning this morning, but it's still a lovely place to be and paint. I'll just show you my stuff. I've got my box of oil paint, spares, ducks, pallets. Well, hi again, and you can see here I'm doing something completely different to my usual work. Not only do the videos progress into different ways of painting and mediums and styles and methods, but of course my own work will progress naturally as well. So I thought this time I would show you a very large abstract that I'm doing and the different materials and ways of thought and progression of this painting. You see, I've already put several canvases together. I've put a series of smaller frames behind, 1, 2, 3, and they're this shape, and then stretched the canvas across those. So I've got 1, 2, 3 panels which can be taken apart for transport, but also give me very interesting shapes to work in. We don't just have to work on square or rectangular canvases. I will show you some more of my work now to show you previous works that have been done on board, where I've used ply or hardboard to make some interesting shapes to paint upon. Obviously, people have done this since medieval times and before. If we look at Russian triptychs or medieval triptychs and so on, where they've used 3 panels to work on. But in this case, it's rather nice also to have a different shape at top and bottom as well. Now you can see how I've produced this. What I've done here is built up areas as well on the painting. Again, something I have done before, but it gives me much more texture and chance to build up 3-dimensionally as well as the 2-dimensional actual surface painting. Here I've mixed household interior filler with some PVA glue to build up sculpturally underneath before adding the paint on top. So what I've done here is made the canvases, built the texturing up primarily, and then given a coat of white emulsion and then cream emulsion to give my ground and priming. And then my basic colours for the areas of block abstraction, of block pattern that I wanted, and put some metallic foil and gold leafing over that. And I can work backwards and forwards across this or add foiling later to this painting and so on. What I'm going to do now is I've drawn out using some other studies, natural photographs I've taken of the surrounding areas and things that are relevant, I think, to this painting and this mood and method. What I've done is drawn out 3 or 4 landscapes together and water scenes that link and give me the mood and atmosphere that I want abstractly, as well as 1 or 2 images that are relevant to that scene, in this case flamingos, and maybe a few more other things added as well that will just give figurative reference and relevance to an abstract painting. So we're playing between the two. We're playing between these colours as we go down, linking together purely abstractly, but they will symbolise in your mind, they will have reference to landscape as well and give a feeling of space and light, joy and atmosphere, all of these things that I want to reflect in this particular painting. I'll show you another painting as well of mine, which I've just done before this one, which is more about, as a self-portrait, more about my inner self. And I've also linked with that a sculptural piece of work, which is about the female form, about sensuality, about the sea, about one's inner depth. It's a lot deeper in connotation. But you see there again that I haven't just had to use the canvases and different shaped blocks of canvas put together, but I've also used the sculpture to link with the painting, so we come away from the painting, not just on the surface, but onto a different piece of work altogether that links with it. You shouldn't feel that you have to be limited by just the square canvas, as I say, just by the surface. I may even use some words in some of these as well, because I write poetry and I write books as well and articles, and I would like to actually link the connotation of the words with the paintings too. But one problem I have with that is that here I am in France and I'm writing in English, and which public am I writing for? Who am I showing the paintings to? Are they just for me? Or do I have to write in English and French, and it becomes rather a bind? So this is something I have to take into account. It becomes more complicated. Anyway, for the moment, let's look at what I'm doing here and how. I'll show you my paints and how I've set this little studio up, because now we have the new workshops and studios at Le Paradis where I can do all these different types of work. I've already told you how the canvases are put together, and my palette of paints is nearby, mixing palette and the palette of the entire colours. Some Terps substitute, my brush is ready, I shan't need many brushes for this, and I've got my swivel chair nearby so I can just move backwards and forwards as I like and take my time. Just beside me then also I have all the photographs and sheets of reference. It's very nice to work on great big paintings like this, and you see here I've got 2 Perspex palettes, one with the main paint on and the other one with the pigment that I mix. Plenty of Terps for this job, because all I'm doing at the moment is blocking in the background colours. At the moment I'm using these beautiful colours from the sunrise in England, working down over to this area, and I'll link these with other photographs like this to give the atmosphere and mood that I want. And I'm working on this area up here. I'm just blocking in the background colours, getting the edges and surfaces that I want here. Sometimes I'll want a sharp, hard edge. Sometimes I'm going to want a softer one. In this case, at the moment, a softer one. I think I'll get rid of these inner edges too, because they'll be seen by the viewer. In this case, an integral part of the painting. This surface is quite absorbent. The emulsion I've used is a matte one on the canvas. It's primed directly, so it's soaking the paint in very, very quickly. And although it's not completely dry, I'm able then to still work into it. Just like put one colour over another very quickly. I can varnish it later to bring these colours out. I'm using cerulean blue at the moment, and I've been adding some emerald green and lemon yellow to give myself a much more turquoisey colour down here. I'm using a nice big 1-inch nylon brush, flat at the moment, to get these areas covered. I'll add some warmer blues into this in a moment, using cobalt and ultramarine. Because as you see on the photograph, we've got these very light turquoises here. Then we come into the warm greys, which we've got to mix, and that's where our warmer blues, such as the cobalts and the ultramarines, will come in. And then we'll start adding colours like crimson, a little bit of alizarin crimson, maybe some rose, and we'll start going to the much warmer ones, even a little bit of Indian red, to bring these greys down to the lovely soft greys that we have in this picture. Now you see, as I bring in these warmer reds and the blue greys, the cobalt coming in now, and makes the other colours very different as well, because one colour next to another will change the colour next to it. So red next to green, as in the colour circle, will make the red seem very bright, the green seem very bright. Here we're using a warmer blue now with the cobalt coming into here, which is not only a warmer colour but is darker as well in tone. So the whole sky starts to glow. And the technique that I'm using is to feather in these colours in a cloud-like fashion, which not only gives it a nice soft edge, but also blends the colours together. And you can see the difference this variety of greys and blues makes. Almost done the basic background of the sky, and I'm working down into the different landscapes now. And later I'm going to bring some more shapes of palm-like fronds and so on in here. Still very much a design, still very abstractly, just giving the feeling of and the atmosphere of the mood that I want. A bit more cobalt, I think, in there, a little bit warmer blue. We've got the cool, yes, did it cool. As we come back into these shadows, I think we find it was a little bit warm. So we're going to work down, in fact, onto this area more now. Our final section. Well, I'm now just coming down to work on the river areas here. I've got some lovely rocks and streams and moving water happening to link this graduation of scenes down. At the moment I'm just playing with a few more cools, a few more of the blues, a little bit of ultramarine and cobalt to play against these pinks here to make this cool froth around the edges. As we were saying earlier, one colour does play against another. Don't be afraid to link over it if it needs it. A bit more cobalt I think in there, a little bit warmer blue. We've got the cool, the acidic cool. As we come back into these shadows I think we find it was a little bit warmer in those blues. I think maybe the blue will link through a bit more to here as well. I'm going to move to a painting knife now. This is quite a fun one. It's one I saw a while ago on television and picked it up afterwards. It's a Bob Ross. You remember Bob Ross? Poor fellow died of cancer I think, but American artist who gave many millions of people much pleasure by giving them very simple ways of painting, a little bit techniquey, a little bit tongue-in-cheek at times, but very nice effects, and many people enjoyed painting because of it, I'm sure. And here's the knife. You see it's got, it is a painting knife, not a palette knife, because of the angle of the blade here. If it was a palette knife it would just be straight out. And also the shape of the blade is rather nice because we've got a pointy tip, a long edge and a short edge which we can work in any direction with. So it's quite a versatile little knife. Now I'm going to work on these lower areas, the stream scenes here, with the knife. And having built up my dark backgrounds with the brush, I shall now come in with the lighter colours from the darker tones working through to the lightest tones at the end, and just mix straight on the palette here. I've got a cloth nearby I can clean the knife with if I want. So what do I want to start with? I'm going to start with these lighter colours up here, and I want to blend of course one thing into another. So although I've got trees coming down here into this stream, I've got to find a way of blending that stream in and having the light coming down through this scene. I've already got the same sort of colour further up here with the flamingos, this lighter cream, so I can link it through to that perhaps. Right, here we go then. I think yellow ochre for that, and a bit of the titanium white. Use titanium white rather than flake white because it's slightly warmer white, flaky being a lead white as well. I'm always a bit wary of things with lead somehow. And let's have just a test of that and just see what sort of colour we get. Oh, that's quite nice. You see the texture I can just by dragging the knife across the canvas as well. So we'll give an effect of the light coming through between these trees in the background here. Remember, I can always come back with a brush whenever I want into this. I might just come into the side of the paper, the canvas, the shape of it here as well. I want a bit more light in there, so I'm going to add a bit more white to that colour. We can always come back later. It also links quite well with the gold leafing here too, doesn't it? And we want to start playing with these lovely textures we can get with a palette knife and oil paint as well. maybe I come back to some of the other parts of the painting and do a bit more of this too. I haven't decided yet, because we want to link that in, especially where the bird comes down there. Let's just see what happens if I just give an indication of a reflection of the bird down here. And then coming down through here, again it's a little bit less in texture, so a little bit less from the knife. And I'll probably put some greens into there later as well. There's the rocks just starting and stones just starting to come across here. I'm going to dig my knife blade in just a little bit more. It comes across these little bits, cascading down through there. And we can use the knife edge as well to give any effects and lines we want. So I can use the edge of the blade there to drag it down and try and get an effect of the edges of some of these trees as well. Like that. I get an effect of these trees in the background. When we're abstracting, we are taking. This is an abstract painting, so the word abstract means to take. And we are taking from this scene, from these photographs, from these images, what we want to use in our picture. We're not copying, we are taking from and using in our own way. And to add a little bit of burnt sienna now to make the brown, the golden brown, a little bit redder. Still something like this rock here, where I want to drag quite solidly this rock through. Letting the undercolour show. Remember, if I don't like this, I can change it later, or I can put work on with the brush as well. Down here, the same. I'm sitting fairly close, and I do need to get back occasionally and have a longer look at the whole. I'm not working on just one picture here. This has to be a part of the whole. And I certainly shall come in with the brush later and tidy this up a bit. I'm enjoying the textures I'm getting at the moment. A bit more warmth. And then a bit more Indian red in. And again, get these colours going on down here amongst the water that will be flowing all through here. And I'm finished. A lot more colour and greens, so I'm going to put into here yet as well. Make it a bit bluer grey, so I'm going to add some of this previous colour I've got with blue grey in. And here, even though that blue grey is showing through, quite nice slabs of paint going on now to have the feeling of this, of these underwater stones just showing through. And immediately you see the difference. Now we start to have this layered stream coming down. That the actual canvases are built up in sections. I built a framework of 1, 2, 3 rectangles, and then join those together and stretch the canvas over the whole thing, as I have down below, where the shape comes down into this H pattern. So it's 1, 2, 3 series of panels. And if I wish to move the painting, I can take these panels apart to transport the painting elsewhere to a gallery, rather than having this huge canvas to take somewhere. You can make very large canvases with a minimum of effort and skill. All you have to do is buy your individual canvases. You can buy some quite cheap ones these days in shops, and fit them together to make an interesting shape by screwing wood to the back of them, as I'm just laying them out here. After which you can then make these beautiful large shapes like this, and this one. Another advantage of working with different panels set together like this is that you can always just take one panel out, say from here, and work on it separately. In this case I want to do the figure, the nude. So I've just taken that panel out, laid it on the table here so I can build up this section of the painting three-dimensionally before putting it back and working up with the paint. Okay, in this part of the film, let me show you how we build up this figure. As you can see here, the figure was built before the painting was done. We take strips of mounting card, or card mat as they say in America, and I bent them in loops with strips of card, and then I glue those onto the surface, either using PVA glue or silicone sealer. The advantage of this is that the canvas remains very light. We don't have huge areas of thick plaster or filler to weigh the canvas down or break off or damage the surface. For areas with a sharper angle or a larger lump, then we can use thinner strips of card, and as you'll see here shortly, after using these large pieces of card to give a more gentle slope across her body, I then crisscross with smaller strips to work the area of the breasts. Once this has been achieved, then we can take paper, in this case newsprint, and lay it across those strips and gradually build them up with ordinary wallpaper paste or thinned down PVA glue. If you want something a bit stronger, of course you could use ordinary cartridge paper. This in itself forms quite a strong surface, almost as strong as plastic, because after all the PVA glue is a form of liquid plastic. And once these initial coats are dry, giving that very hard surface, then we can start to build up the surface layers of the plaster or filler. I use polyfiller most of the time, but there are other powders and fillers you can use. If you want to make them more plastic or pliable, then add some more PVA glue to this. Not only will it adhere better, but it makes it more pliable and it's less likely to break off. Here you can see me building up the modelling by hand and by my fingers at first, then I'll finish with a tool called a kidney spoon. As you see here, this kidney-shaped piece of metal is very useful for smoothing both pottery, clay and sculpture like this. Not only in metal, but you can buy these spoons in plastic and in wood as well. So using a combination of the kidney spoon and a sponge, we can get a very, very smooth surface. After which I take some white emulsion in this case and emulsion with 2 coats the whole surface, ready for the final painting. Even at this stage, it's still possible to add more material. Of course, the matte emulsion will take more filler on the surface if you want it to, especially if you have the additional PVA glue with it. Here you can see the final work ready to be put back into the rest of the panels, and then the actual painting started. Once I had fitted the smaller panel, you can see I built over the shoulders and added further texturing to link it into the rest of the painting. Here's a brief glimpse of the final work, but now let's see how all of this painting was done. Let's lead into that. As you can see, I'm working on a very different painting again now. We finished the landscape one based on the sunsets. This one with a half nude and also a sort of wing effect here. I'm doing feather effect up through here. Is from another poem of mine about the pollution in the sea, especially around the Caribbean and the coral reefs. So I want this woman as part of the female form of the sea, la mer, as well as this feeling of flying and floating and seabirds. The beginning here of an effect of palm trees and this background of stronger colours to break through two dimensions, a lighter painting of the fishes and the underwater scenes. So we've got two dimensions going on, the destruction and the and what we hope to not see destroyed, the underwater life itself. Blend in slightly fresher colours. Because you can treat it a little bit like a watercolour in some places. Most of these paints are very versatile. And we can blend, although that's a very absorbent surface, we can blend the oils thinly with terps as well. Comme ça, like so. Well, I would say I've come to the end of this painting now. I might do a bit more with it. I like the simplified area here. I'm not too sure about working more into it with all these fishing details. I'm going to keep this area as the poem says, it's about pollution, it's about the before and the after. So this is the more blank area which I've been able to be more bold with my abstraction, and here a little bit more life going on, a little bit more happening in textures and colours and movement. I don't want to overdo it, I don't want to spoil this area, which I rather like, by adding more detail, by adding more figurative stuff. So at the moment I'll leave it at that, maybe a bit more later, but I doubt it. Well, here's the abstracts now put together. Let's take a last look at the Dreams of Ocean Deep, shall we? Because I did a little bit more work after it had been in the studio on the gold leafing in the centre you see here. I painted out some areas that I thought were just too much. I wanted a bit more texture and added this gold leafing over the surface of the surface texture I'd already built in 3D, and just spread it out as if it were breaking away from the figure into the water, the light streaming out, reflecting from that sunlight above. gold leafing. Here you see I've done a bit more on this next painting of mine, of the Neon Tetras. It's a smaller painting, still using a triptych, still using 3 canvases. And I've underpainted with acrylic paint here, working from black into a purple into a deep blue. So from the black to the Prussian blue into a deeper blue, and then adding white to that and coming through into the greens. And when that was dry, putting on a special glue that we use for the gold leafing. This is metallic foil. And when the glue is virtually dry, just at the right time, you then lay on the metallic foil gold leaf and brush it on. From there, I've then worked up these Neon Tetras in oils over the top, because we can paint oils over the top of acrylics, but you can't paint, or you shouldn't paint acrylic over the top of oils. So at the moment I'm just finishing off these Neon Tetras here. These 2 are virtually done. These 1, 2, 3, 4 in fact are virtually done. I'm just working up these smaller fish in the background. Then we'll see about the intermediate shapes in between. I may just keep it as it is. So just watch how I just finish off these Neon Tetras. People often ask me, how do you paint shiny things? How do you paint metallic things? You paint the colours that are there. So if we use our colours in the colour circles, one against each other here in this case, so the greens against the reds, the purples against the yellow and so on, and we have the right intensity and the different warm and cool greens and blues as well. You see I've used these different blues and greens here to give the warmth and cools and strength and vibrancy of these flashing Neon Tetras. They're only about that big in reality, just about the size of your thumbnail, but actually enlarged up to this size, they make a rather lovely abstract painting. I'll just work on this one fish down here for the moment, just to give you an idea how quick and simple it is, by just placing one colour next to another to produce an image such as this. So here's my photograph. This is the one I'm working from. And we're not copying, remember, we're just enhancing. First of all, I want a little bit more light colour underneath the belly here. So I'm going to use a little bit of cooler yellow now, which is the lemon yellow with some white, and a little touch of yellow ochre, so it's not too bright underneath there. Now I'm going to go a little more yellow again and take some of that and some lemon yellow, and no yellow ochre this time, so it's much cooler still. And you'll see the difference of the cooler yellow under here. So that makes that much warmer next to it. Now let's come across to where the things blend here. We've got a browny colour over the top of the fish, so I'm going to use some burnt sienna and a little touch of ultramarine with that, just to bring across the brown shapes on the back of the fish here. Fairly dark brown at first. I'll work a bit lighter, because with oils we can work either way, remember. We can go light to dark or dark to light. And we'll just blend that across by adding short strokes, because I want an effect of the scales. So I'm going to feather the tip of this little 1/4 inch flat across the top there, and bring some of that into here as well. In fact, there's more red going on down there, so I'll take a bit more red. I'm going to take some crimson and bring some crimson down into the side of the fish here, and short strokes across there again to link from that cadmium red that I've used earlier. And if that's still too warm, I can come down with some direct Indian red into that. You see, with these short strokes we can give the illusion of a shining fish. Just soften that cadmium down a bit there as well. Come down under the belly a fraction with the reflection of it. Around here, over the nose. Now, the very light areas, we'll just take a bit of Indian red and just soften it a fraction with the Indian red, because it's a very brown red, isn't it? And it will make the other red shine out even more. That's the idea anyway. Up here as well in the tail, just indicate the tail. We don't go painting details, we're not into painting photographs of these fish. Could be looser if I wanted, but I think this is adequate for what I want. There we go. Now, we've got a nice bit of cobalt blue going on here. This blue here is cobalt. I'll just put a bit more onto it to show you. And if we want to go darker still and warmer still, we can use some ultramarine. So let's take some straight ultramarine and directly work into this. You see how much stronger that blue is and more vibrant that blue is. We'll just work around the fish's eye here with that a bit. Come underneath it there. Just indicating if we put the right shapes, if we put the right colours and the right shapes in the right places, the fish or whatever we're painting will just appear magically in front of us. So don't worry about having to paint a fish looking like a fish. If you get the drawing right, if you get the shapes right, it's like a jigsaw. The actual object will just appear in front of you. You see how this is doing just that now. A little bit underneath there, just to give it a bit more roundness to the body. So that's the stronger blue there. I can come around a bit into there a bit more as well. And just down the back of the tail here, a fraction, I think we'll just indicate the back of that tail. Now, the very bright colours in here, you might think it's a bright blue. We've already used our bright blues and greens. We've played our turquoises and very cool blues together, coming through to the warmer blues. Now let's take some cream, some direct white and again the lemon yellow, and just put in these very strong lights that are shining across this fish, coming down here. And you'll see the difference it makes straight away. Just tickle it down with the edge of the brush all the way down this blue up the side here. Try and keep the colour clean, so just tickle it on, don't blend it. I'm not blending, I'm just putting pure colour with the tip of the brush along here to shine as light would shine on this neon tetra. Keep it clean. Little touch on the edge of the eye there. And here, there again, there, under here. You see how the fish starts to shine now? So we've used our cream there and a few touches coming down the side of this blue as well here, all the way down here. And we get a shiny little fish, like a jewel, coming down there. Now I'm going to take a bit of pink now, a little bit of the rose or crimson, but rose is better for this job I think, and we'll just add the pink next to this cream to give a bit more sparkle and vibrance. Play the two together, it's called broken colour, remember, and some of those colours are reflecting around this yellow in the belly as well, and around here, and in the fin too, at the top here. See our fish coming to life now. You can almost sense him wanting to swim away. Now, we can still go darker yet, but before we go darker, I want to add some very bright green highlights. A little emerald green with some white, and just touch in some of these sparkling green areas, because we're playing the opposites in the colour circle together as well. We're playing the green against the red. Let's come down here and add some of that green down there, look, just little touches, and how that makes the blue stand out and makes this red more vibrant. Now take a little emerald again, a cooler emerald. There's several, each paint, each maker of paint has a slightly different colour, and they very seldom are exactly the same. In this case I'm using a different make for a slightly cooler, bluer emerald to come into here and blend that across. You can see how cool that blue, that green is there, just reflecting nicely. So we've almost done here, just a little bit more there. Now let's go to a dark, and I'm going to use, I don't use black, I'm going to use some Prussian blue and a little touch of Indian red again. Some Prussian blue and a little touch of burnt sienna, in fact, this time. The Indian red's a bit too bright, and we'll get a lovely dark with that for the eye here. Could go darker yet, I think. Coming back in here, I'll add some of these darks along here just to make the other colours stand out and sing more. Because we put one colour next to another, the light next to the darks, the cools next to the warms, and it makes everything sing as in a symphony. And there we are, we've got a little fish. We don't need to do much more to him. We're just working on the others now. This should be next, I think. We've done the reds on this one, and we need a few more reflecting blues. So I'm going to take some of the cerulean blue and cobalt, and a touch of white, and just lighten up his belly a bit, I think. There's just too much red there at the moment. Cerulean and white fairly thickly, because it's got to go over this red. And paste it over there virtually, layer it over. We'll get that shiny feel. We'll take a bit of the yellow-green, the emerald yellowy green that I've got. Add that under here, give a reflection of the weeds on him. Continuing with the emerald around the eye here. Just an indication of the fins. And then a little bit of white down here for this fin. Now, what we did before, the cream, take some clean white, add a touch of pure, just a touch of pure lemon to that. Remember that when you mix a light colour, you add to your white, not the white to the colour, but the colour to the white. Otherwise you end up with a gallon of it as you try to make it lighter and lighter. Now we come in above the fish's eye here, and along, feeling our reflected shiny area all the way down the side of this fish. And there we are, just as quick as that, just flick him in a little bit more here, a touch under the eye, and he's about done. Do the same down this fish, he's ready for this light colour as well. It's also ready for a darker colour for his eyes. indication we have a fish. Doesn't take a lot, you see. This one needs a bit more work. He could do with a bit of reflected light underneath him as well. So we'll just bring in some of these blues here too. And some more cerulean, a bit of green in a moment. We'll have a bit of neat cerulean going on down here. Let's try a little bit of blue cerulean just coming in there against this nice bit of cobalt there. A bit darker just there. This fish in the background I think I may only indicate, I don't want too much detail. Nice blue going on here that I haven't got. Let's just try and work that up a bit. Some cobalt and white, and we'll just try and feel some of this bluer, lighter blue coming along here. It's helping to make the vibrance we haven't got on this fish. That's better. And again, we've got a lot of red there. Let's have a little bit of the burnt sienna into there to make the reds, just take the reds down a bit. Especially under here. Now the very dark colour that we had before, the Prussian blue and burnt sienna, to go for what would be a blacker colour, but we don't use black of course, or I don't. Here, for his eye, little touch there. I think actually he wants to be a bit bluer on top, he's a bit red on top, this fish. Just darken him down a bit. And then we want an eye on this one. And this one. Just a darker line amongst that lot too. There we go. I need to stand back a bit and look at this now because we're working very close up, and when you're working with any painting, especially bigger abstracts, you need to get back from it occasionally and just see what you're doing. A bit of a mismatch just here, which I'm not happy with. Where I've adjusted the fish itself and it needs adjusting back again. So if we can try and find that colour that we used before. So maybe something a little bit lighter just to catch the edge of that fin with the light. There we are, that's pushed him back a bit. And this one again is also a little bit red on top. I want to just bring that down a bit. There we go. Up to here. Putting on these highlights at the end of a painting is always fun. It just pulls the painting together finally. Here and here, very similar. All these wee fish that need just pulling out a bit. So many little fish to choose from to paint this. On our final stages now, I think.